friends, welcome back to Astrology with Ninad. In this video, I am going to do the monthly horoscope prediction for the month of March 2022 for all the 12 signs of the zodiac. My predictions are mainly based on your moon or ascendant sign as per Vedic astrology. So if you don't know those signs, I recommend going to an online Vedic birth chart calculator, plugging in your birth details and finding out those signs. I have posted the timestamps in the description box below, so you can click on the timestamp that corresponds to your moon or ascendant sign and watch accordingly. So now before we dive deep into the monthly prediction for all signs, let's first take a look at the major transits happening in the month of March. So Jupiter is going to be in the sign of Aquarius all month long. Saturn is going to be in its own sign Capricorn all month long. And it will be conjunct with Venus as well as Mars. And Mars will be exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Mercury will be in Capricorn, but then will transit to the sign of Aquarius after March 5, and then again it will transit to the sign of Pisces after March 23. So Mercury will be in 3 signs in the month of March. Sun will be in Aquarius for the first 2 weeks, but then it will transit to Pisces in the last 2 weeks of March. Finally, Rahu, the north node of the moon, will be in the sign of Taurus, while Ketu, the south node of the moon, will be in the sign of Scorpio. So these are the planetary position and transits for the month of March. So without further delay, let's take a look at the impact that it will have on each of the 12 signs of the zodiac. For my Aries friends, let's start talking about career. So for job and profession, the month is looking to be very strong because Saturn is going to be in its own sign Capricorn in your 10th house, along with Venus, its best friend, and Mars, the lord of your ascendant, will also be in the 10th house in exaltation as Mars gets exalted in Capricorn. So overall, the month is very powerful in terms of job. So if you don't have a job, I recommend keep applying, and there is a good chance you might land a decent job. If you are already employed, then there is a chance of promotion, a salary increment, or a bonus in the month of March. So I recommend that keep working hard, stay focused, and you will progress in your career. Now let's take a look at love life. So in terms of love life, the last 2 weeks will be better than the first 2 weeks, because the lord of your 5th house of love and romance, Sun, will first be in the enemy sign Aquarius for the first 2 weeks, but then it will transit to the friendly sign Pisces in your 12th house. So in the last 2 weeks, there is a chance you might connect with a possible romantic partner who lives in a faraway land or who lives in a place away from where you live. It can be in a foreign country or it can be in another state. So there is going to be a lot of love and romance in the air in the last 2 weeks of March. In terms of business, it is going to be a fairly good month as the lord of your business house is Venus, and it is going to be placed in the friendly sign Capricorn in your 10th house. So there's going to be a lot of progress in the business area. Some people might even do their startup business. If they have a business partnership, then the business partner will be more supportive. You might make some really good business decisions. Your revenue in your business activities might start jumping. You might think of expanding your business. So the business area looks to be very strong. Now let's take a look at finance. So in terms of finance, the last 2 weeks are going to be very strong, as Sun will leave the 11th house where it is its enemy sign Aquarius, as 11th house is the house of cash flow, financial flow. Then it will transit to Pisces. So the first 2 weeks, it is going to be a bit slow, but in the last 2 weeks, you might see some sudden gains coming your way. Now let's talk of education. In terms of education, whether it is primary or higher education like master's or PhD program, you will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort, and then only you will get success and good grades. Also, if you're trying to pursue higher education in a foreign land, then keep applying and don't give up, because there is a good chance you might possibly get accepted and get admission to a college in a foreign land. However, you will need to have a lot of patience. Let's talk about health. For health, it is going to be a fairly good month and no major issues are seen. However, you will still need to do your part of eating good healthy food, working out, doing yoga, meditation, exercise, and all these things will prove to be more beneficial. Let's look at finally married life. In terms of married life, it is going to be a good month because the Lord of your marriage house is Venus, and it will be placed in the friendly sign Capricorn all month long. So your married life looks to be very harmonious and peaceful, and you might even go on some nice vacations or a picnic, to a restaurant, to a movie theater. Basically, you will spend some nice, memorable and joyous time with your spouse. So I have covered all the major aspects for the month of March for the first sign in the zodiac, Aries. For my Taurus friends, let's start talking about career. So for job and profession, we look at the 10th house, and the Lord of your 10th house is Saturn, and it is placed in the 9th house in the sign Capricorn. However, it is sitting 12 places away. And Saturn, being a planet of hard work, will only give you good results in your job if you put in 200% hard work and effort. Without that, you will not see any results. Also, it is going to be conjunct with its good friend Venus, and Mars will be exalted in the 9th house. So the more hard work and effort you put in, the tremendous success you will get, because 9th house is also a very auspicious house. Finally, for those people who do not have a job, I recommend keep applying, and there is a very good chance you might be able to get a good job. Let's look at love life. So in terms of love life, the first 2 weeks you have to be a bit careful and not suddenly jump into a relationship before knowing everything about that person. Instead, try to be patient, because the last 2 weeks of March look to be more favorable in terms of love life and romance. So if you're single, then good things in terms of love and romantic life can fructify in the last 2 weeks. Let's look at business. So in terms of business, the Lord of your 7th house of business is Mars, and it will be exalted in the 9th house, in the house of Bhagya. So it is going to be a powerful month for business activities. Your revenue might start jumping. Your business associates will start respecting you more. You might make some good business decisions. However, you have to still be careful, as Ketu, the demon planet, will be in your 7th house. So do not blindly sign any documents. Read everything before you sign. Make sure to analyze everything before you make any big investment decision. Let's look at finance. So in terms of finance, the last 2 weeks of March will be stronger than the first 2 weeks. So be patient and you will slowly see your money flow increasing as the month progresses. Also be careful of making any financial investments because Rahu will be in your first house, in the ascendant, and Rahu is known as a planet of Maya, meaning it can try to trick you or confuse you into making the wrong investment decision. So just be careful in that aspect. Now let's look at education. For primary education, you will need to put in a lot of effort and work hard to get good grades. What I mean by primary education is high school and bachelor's. If you are planning on giving an exam, you will need to work very hard to get good grades. However, if you are pursuing higher education like master's or PhD programs, possibly in a foreign country, then luck will be better for you. It will be a more favorable time to give exams and there is a good chance you will succeed and get very good grades. Now let's look at health. So health is going to be good for the most part. There are no major issues seen. However, you will still need to make sure to do a lot of good exercise, eat healthy food, do yoga, meditation, pranayam, which will be very helpful to maintain good health. Now let's finally look at married life. So in terms of married life, it is going to be a good month as the Lord of your marriage house is going to be exalted in the sign of Capricorn. But as I said before, Ketu will still be in your 7th house. So as long as you are respectful, caring, loyal towards your spouse, then your married life is going to be harmonious and peaceful for the most part. So I wish you all the best. For my Gemini friends, let's look at the career. So the Lord of your 10th house of job and profession is Jupiter, but it will be placed in the 9th house, which is sitting 12 places away. So you will need to put in a lot of effort and hard work, and then only you will get success in your job in the month of March. If you don't have a job, I recommend keep applying and keep giving interviews. And there is a very good chance you might land a job in the month of April. But your hard work and effort in giving interviews, in putting in applications, all these things will not go in vain. They will help you in the future. So do not give up, keep working hard and stay focused, and you will see good progress on the work front. Now let's look at love life. So in terms of love life, you have to be slightly careful this month since the Lord of your 5th house of love and romance is Venus, and it will be placed in the 8th house. 8th house is the house of sudden, unexpected obstacles, losses, downfalls. So before you jump into a relationship, try to analyze everything about that person and then only take such a decision. If you are already in a relationship, then there is a chance that you might get some sudden unexpected gains from your partner, because the 8th house is the house of sudden unexpected gains as well. Let's look at business. So in terms of business, the Lord of your 7th house of business is Jupiter, and it is placed in the 9th house, in the house of Bhagya, in the house of destiny. So your business activities will have a lot of luck and you might make some sound business decisions. Your business partners might also support you more. Some people might also start brainstorming and thinking of ideas of starting their own business in the future. So overall, a very strong month for business. Now let's look at finance. In terms of finance, the Lord of your 11th house of gains, Mars, will be exalted in the 8th house in the sign of Capricorn. And as I said before, 8th house is the house of sudden gains in life, major windfalls. So you might get some sudden unexpected cash flow from maybe your spouse, through your in-laws, inheritance, lottery, stock market. Not saying that you should invest in lottery or stock market because these are risky things. However, if you had done it in the past, then there is a chance you might see some gains. Also, Mars is basically not the best planet for Gemini people. However, it is still the Lord of your house of gains. So there is a good chance you might see some good gains in the month of March in terms of cash flow. Now let's look at education. So in terms of primary education such as bachelor's and high school, students will need to put in a lot of effort and hard work to get good grades. But in terms of higher education like master's and PhD program, those students will be able to successfully give examinations and achieve good grades. Also, those people applying to universities in foreign lands, they might be able to get admission. Now let's look at health. So in terms of health, you need to be slightly careful as the 6th house is related to health issues and the Lord of the 6th is Mars and it is placed in the 8th house and in an exalted position. So be careful with driving a vehicle. Do not speed and drive. Do not ignore any health issues because even Ketu, the demon planet, is going to be in your 6th house. So be careful of health issues and try to do yoga, meditation, exercise, which might benefit you. Finally, let's look at married life. In terms of married life, Jupiter is the Lord of your 7th house of marriage. And Jupiter is going to be placed in the 9th house, in the Bhagyasthanam, in the house of destiny. And 9th house is a trine house. And Jupiter is the natural significator of the 9th house. So overall, the married life looks to be very harmonious and peaceful. And as long as you are respectful, loyal, and caring towards your spouse, you're going to have a memorable and joyous time as far as your married life is concerned. For my Cancer friends, let's start by looking at career. So in terms of career, there seems to be very good progress in the month of March because the Lord of your career house is Mars and it will be exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So overall, there seems to be very good progress. The more hard work and effort you put, the more you will rise in your job. For those people who are unemployed, I recommend keep applying and there is a very good chance you might land a decent job in the month of March. Let's look at love life. In terms of love life, again, Mars is the Lord of your 5th house of love and romance, as Mars is a Yoga Karaka planet, meaning a key planet for Cancer people, and it will be exalted. But Ketu will be in your 5th house. So there is a chance that suddenly you might be able to find a romantic partner. But before getting into a relationship, try to analyze everything about that person and then only make a decision because of the presence of Ketu in your 5th house, which can lead you to make the wrong decision. So just be careful in that aspect. Now let's look at business. So in terms of business, the Lord of your 7th house of business is Saturn, and Saturn is going to be in its own sign along with exalted Mars and great friend Venus. So overall, in terms of business, it is a strong month. Your revenues might start jumping. Your business partners might start respecting you more. They might be more open to your feedback and more open to your inputs and ideas. So use this month well to settle down in your business, and you can even possibly think of business expansion. So overall, a very strong month. Now let's look at finance. Again, for finance, it is going to be a very solid month as Rahu, the demon planet, is going to be placed in your 11th house. That is the house of gains. That is the house of cash flow. So Rahu usually does well in only few houses, with 11 being one of those few houses. So you guys are very lucky in that aspect that financial flow is definitely going to come your way. Now let's look at education. For primary education, it is going to be an easy month, as in there is a very good chance students who give examinations who are in their high school or bachelor's program will get good grades. But for those students who are in higher education, such as master's or PhD, they will need to put in a lot of effort to be able to get good grades and become successful in their fields. Let's look at health aspect. In terms of health, you have to be slightly careful as the lord of your 6th house of health and sickness is Jupiter, and it will be placed in the 8th house. So even though Jupiter is a benefic planet and its tendency is to do good, 8th house is still a malefic house. It is the house of obstacles. It is the house of ups and downs in life. So try not to ignore any health issues. Instead, try to do yoga, meditation, eat good healthy food, do regular exercise. And if any health issues bother you, then make sure to get appropriate help. Finally, let's look at married life. So in terms of married life, it is going to be a good month because the lord of your 7th house of marriage is Saturn, and it will be placed in its own sign. So it will support that house. No planet tries to damage its own house. So since Saturn is a planet of stability, there will be a lot of stability in your marriage, in your married life. It will be peaceful and harmonious. Just try not to get into arguments with your spouse due to the presence of Mars in your 7th house, and Mars will be exalted as well. So just be careful of that one thing. Other than that, your married life seems to be harmonious for the most part. So I wish you all the best. For my Leo friends, let's start by looking at career. So in terms of career, Rahu will be in your 10th house. So try to be a bit careful in the month of March, as Rahu might lead you to make the wrong decisions. Do not get into arguments with your co-workers. Do not get into arguments with your bosses, or that could lead to issues. Just stay focused and dedicated to your work, and you will slowly rise. Also, for those unemployed people, I recommend keep applying, keep giving interviews, and your hard work and effort will not go waste. You might eventually land a job in the month of April, but the effort and hard work you put in March will certainly pay off. Now let's look at love life. So in terms of love life, it is going to be a good month because the lord of your 5th house of love and romance is Jupiter, and it will be placed in the 7th house, in the house of marriage. So for those people who have been in long-term love relationships, they might take the next step and decide to get married. For those single people, love and romance might be in the air. They might find someone who they might get into a relationship with that might be for the long term and which might eventually lead to marriage. Now let's look at business. In terms of business, you need to be careful since the lord of your business house will be placed in the malefic 6th house, the house of enemies. So watch out for your competitors as they might try to damage you. However, if you are careful and you make every decisions after consulting with your trusted advisors, then no major issues are seen. But March is not the month to start a new business or suddenly invest huge amounts of money. You have to be patient. Now let's look at finance. In terms of finance and cash flow, the last 2 weeks of March are going to be much better for you. The first 2 weeks might be a bit slower, but slowly and steadily you will start to notice your financial flow increase as the month progresses. Now let's look at education. In terms of education, specifically primary, like bachelor's or high school, students will need to put in a lot of effort and hard work to be able to get good grades. However, for those students in the higher education field, such as master's or PhD program, they might have better luck because their higher education lord is Mars, and it will be exalted in the 6th house in the sign of Capricorn. That indicates they might be able to come out on top of the competition. They will be easily able to clear competitive exams or any presentations. So overall, a good month in terms of higher education. Now let's look at health. In terms of health issues, nothing major is seen because the lord of your 6th house of health is Saturn, and it will be placed in its own house and own sign Capricorn. So overall, it is going to be a strong month as long as you do your part of eating good healthy food, doing yoga, meditation, exercise. It is going to be a fairly good month. Now let's look at married life. In terms of married life, be slightly careful as the lord of your marriage house is Saturn, and it will be placed 12 places away, indicating loss. However, Jupiter is going to be in your 7th house, protecting that house. So overall, as long as you're respectful, caring, loyal towards your spouse, then no major issues are seen, and good harmony and peace is indicated in your married life. So I wish you all the best. For my Virgo friends, let's look at the career. So in terms of career, you will need to work very hard this month to be able to get good results. However, the more hard work and effort you put in, the more focused and dedicated you are, the excellent the results will be. For those people unemployed, I highly recommend keep applying to jobs, and there is a very good chance that your interviews might be successful and you might land a job. However, it might be even in the month of April, but the hard work and effort you put in the month of March will not go waste. Now let's look at love life. In terms of love life, the lord of your 5th house of love and romance is Saturn, and it is going to be in its own sign Capricorn, along with the planet of love and romance, Venus, and Mars will be exalted as well. So overall, a very powerful month in terms of love life. If you are single, you might be able to suddenly find someone, a romantic partner that you might find very attractive, because that house is getting activated by 3 very powerful planets. So there is a very good chance that love and romance might be in the air in the month of March for my Virgo friends. Now let's look at business. In terms of business activities, you need to be slightly careful as Jupiter is the lord of your business house, and it is going to be placed in the 6th house of indicating loss because it is 12 places away. Also, 6th house is a malefic house. It is a Dustana. So, as long as you are careful in your business activities, Jupiter will not try to harm you that much. Just do not invest any huge financial investments or do not take any major risk. Do not suddenly get into a business partnership with someone you don't know. or those things could lead to issues. Now let's look at finance. In terms of finance and cash flow, it is going to be a fairly good month. The lord of your bank balance, the lord of your savings is Venus, and it will be placed in a trine house in the 5th along with its good friend Saturn. So it will try to do good for you in terms of cash flow. If you had invested in the stock market in the past, then suddenly you might see some gains. If you had invested in any other financial investments, then also you might see some gains coming from there. So overall, a fairly strong month in terms of finances. Now let's look at education. In terms of primary and higher education, you will need to put in a lot of effort and hard work to be able to get good grades, to be able to clear competitive exams. But if you put in hard work, the results will not go waste, and there is a very good chance you will be able to clear any exams. But you will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort. Now let's look at health. So in terms of health issues, you have to be slightly careful in the month of March because the lord of your 6th house of health is Saturn, and it is going to be placed 12 places away in the sign of Capricorn. So the saving grace is that Saturn will still be in its own sign. So no major issues are seen, but I will advise you to not neglect any health issues as well. And if you do yoga, meditation, exercise, that will also be beneficial. Now let's look at married life. So the lord of your married life or marriage house is Jupiter. And as I said before, it is placed in the 6th house, in the house of enemies, in the house of litigations, in the house of arguments. So try to avoid arguments with your spouse. Try not to get into disputes, or that could lead to serious issues. But if you are caring and loyal towards your spouse, then no major issues are seen because Jupiter's nature is to not try to cause harm. So try to be cordial in your married life, and that will help you. So I wish you all the very best. For my Libra friends, let's start by looking at career. So in terms of job and profession, you have to be slightly careful in the month of March because Saturn, Venus are going to aspect your 10th house of job and profession with the enemy aspect because it will fall on the sign Cancer. Also, Mars will be aspecting the 10th house, and that aspect will be debilitated as well. So try to be careful in your job and profession area in the month of March. If you are applying to jobs and are unemployed, then keep up a positive mindset as you might see better results in the month of April. So your hard work and effort will not go waste. Now let's look at love life. Overall, love life seems to be fairly good for the month of March because Saturn is the ruler of your 5th house of love and romance, and it will be placed in the 4th house. 4th house is a center house, and it will also be placed in its own sign Capricorn, along with the planet of love and romance, Venus, and Mars will be exalted as well. So there is a definite chance that if you're single, you might come across someone you start liking and possibly get into a relationship. Now let's look at business. So in terms of business, it is going to be a very strong month because the lord of your business house is Mars, and it will be placed in the 4th house in its exaltation stage. So it is a powerful month in terms of business activities. Your revenues might start jumping. You might collaborate on some new business ventures. Your business partners might start supporting you more. You might be very proactive in taking business decisions, and your leadership skills will also start to rise. Now let's look at finance. The finance and money flow aspect is looking to be very good for the month of March. Overall, money will definitely be coming your way. So try to save as much as possible so that it will benefit you in the long run. Now let's look at education. In terms of education, whether it is primary like high school or bachelor's, or higher education like master's or PhD, you will need to put in a lot of effort and hard work if you're a student, and if you're planning on giving exams or doing any presentations. With that hard work and effort, you will be able to be successful and get good grades and clear any examinations. Now let's look at health. So for health, the overall month is going to be fairly good as long as you take good care of your health, work out, do exercise, do yoga, meditation, and try to eat good healthy food. So overall, no major concerns are seen in terms of health matters. Just try not to ignore any health issues if they should arise, and get appropriate help when needed. Now let's look at married life. In terms of married life, it is going to be a fairly good month because the Lord of your marriage house is Mars. And as I said before, it will be exalted and placed strongly in the 4th house. So there will be a lot of passion and romance in your married life. There will be a lot of peace and harmony. Just try to avoid to get into arguments with your spouse, or that could lead to misunderstandings. But overall, the married life looks to be very harmonious and peaceful for the most part. So I wish you all the very best. For my Scorpio friends, let's start by talking about career. So the first 2 weeks are going to be slightly slower. But as soon as Sun, the Lord of your career house, moves to its friendly sign Pisces, after March 14, you will see significant progress in your job. For those unemployed people, I recommend keep applying and giving interviews. And there is a very good chance you might land a good job in the last 2 weeks of March. Now let's look at love life. In terms of love and romance, it is going to be a fairly good month because the Lord of your romance house is Jupiter, and it will be strongly placed in the 4th house, which is a center house. Since it is placed 12 places away, you might be able to connect with someone who lives in a foreign land or who lives far away from where you live. So overall, the love and romance area is highlighted in the month of March and is looking to be positive. Now let's look at business. So in terms of business and business activities, you will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort to get good success because the Lord of your business house is Venus, and it will be placed in the 3rd house in its friendly sign Capricorn. But the 3rd house is the house of self-effort. It is the house of hard work. It is the house of courage. So the more courage, the more hard work and self-effort you put in your business, the more it will expand and grow. The more it will flourish. So hard work will result to more success. Let's look at finance. Your financial aspect is going to be fairly good throughout the month. I do not see any major obstacles. Money will definitely be coming your way. So try to save as much as possible so that it will benefit you in the long run. Now let's look at education. In terms of education, whether it is primary like bachelor's or high school, or even secondary like master's or PhD, you will need to put in a lot of effort to be able to get good grades, to clear any competitive examinations, to be able to do any defense or do any presentations. You will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort, and then only you can achieve the desired result. Now let's look at health. In terms of health aspect, it is going to be a good month because the Lord of your 6th house of health is going to be exalted, which is Mars. And Mars will be placed in the third house. And Mars is a natural significator of the third house where it is very comfortable. So overall, as long as you take good care of your health, I do not see any major issues. Try to do yoga, meditation, exercise, pranayam. All these things will be helpful for you. Finally, let's take a look at married life. So in terms of marriage and married life, it is going to be a good month because Venus is the lord of your marriage house and it will be placed in the friendly sign Capricorn along with good friend Saturn. So overall, there is peace and harmony indicated in your married life. As long as you're respectful, caring, loyal towards your spouse, you might go on some nice vacations, some nice short distance journeys, maybe to a nice restaurant, picnic, maybe a movie. So overall, the time is looking to be very good and it seems to be very memorable and joyous for those who are already married. So I wish you all the best and hope you make the best use of this upcoming time. For my Sagittarius friends, let's start by talking about career. So in terms of career, you will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort in the month of March. Then only you will see good results. So try to be a bit patient. If you are unemployed, I recommend keep applying to jobs, keep giving interviews, and you might get some good news in the month of April. But the hard work and effort you put in now in the month of March will prove to be very beneficial. Let's look at love life. So in terms of love life, Mars is the planet that rules that specific area and it will be exalted in the sign of Capricorn. So love and romance can definitely be in the air. For those single people, you can hope that the month of March can be positive and you might be able to find someone and possibly get into a love relationship. So overall, the month is looking to be strong in the love and romance area. Let's look at business. In terms of business, you will need to work very hard to be able to increase your revenues or expand your business. You will need to cooperate with your business partners to be able to work on any projects. Try not to open a new business in the month of March because it is not a favorable time to do so. Let's look at finance. The finance aspect is looking to be very strong because the lord of your 11th house is Venus and it is going to be placed in the second house of wealth. So the lord of the house of gains will be placed in the house of wealth with the ruler of the second house, which is Saturn itself. So money is definitely going to be coming your way. It is looking to be very strong. So I recommend trying to save as much as possible so that it will benefit you in the long run. So you can be rest assured that the financial flow is looking to be superb in the month of March. Now let's look at education. In terms of education, whether it is primary, bachelor's or high school, or secondary, which is master's or PhD, those students will need to work very hard, put in a lot of effort, be focused, and then only they might be able to get good grades or clear any competitive examinations. But if they put in a lot of hard work and effort, then they might be successful in their exams. Now let's look at health. So health is going to be fine for the most part because Venus rules your house of health and sickness and it will be placed in the friendly sign Capricorn along with great friend Saturn. However, second house is related to food and drinks. So be watchful of what you eat and drink because if you have the wrong kind of food, then it might lead to health issues. But if you are careful, then I do not see any major issues in the health area. Now let's look at married life. In terms of married life, overall the month is going to be fine. Not too auspicious, not too bad. Just about medium. So try to be cooperative with your spouse. Try to be understanding, caring. And then that will make sure that your married life remains peaceful and harmonious. So overall, your married life is also looking to be fairly good for the most part, as long as you put in work from your end and try to make sure that you work out everything with your spouse in a polite manner. Thank you for watching. For my Capricorn friends, let's start by looking at job. So in terms of job and profession, the month is going to be fairly strong because the Lord of your career house is Venus, and it will be placed in your ascendant in the friendly sign Capricorn, along with good friend Saturn. And Venus is also a Yoga Karaka planet for you, meaning a very beneficial planet because it rules a center and a trine house. So the more hard work and effort you put in your job, the more success you will see. If you are unemployed, I recommend keep applying, keep giving interviews, and there is a high chance you might get a job in the month of March. Now let's look at love life. Again, for love life, it is going to be a strong month because the Lord of your 5th house of love and romance is again Venus. So Venus rules your 5th and 10th houses, and Venus will be placed in your ascendant, meaning love can find you. You do not have to go after finding love. It can just walk up to you. It can just come to you naturally. So someone might just approach you randomly and try to start a conversation. Or you might connect with someone through social media or any online matrimonial website, and you might be able to meet someone and get into a relationship because Venus is going to be placed on your body, on your ascendant. So overall, a very strong month for love and romance. Now let's look at business. In terms of business, you have to be slightly careful because there is a combined enemy aspect of Saturn and Venus on your 7th house, which falls on the sign Cancer. Also, Mars aspect on the 7th house will be debilitated. So overall, a very month that you need to be careful for your business. Do not suddenly start a new business. Do not take any major risk. Do not suddenly get into business partnerships. The month of March is where you have to just keep doing what you're doing, stay focused, and try not to take any sort of risk. Let's look at finance. Overall, the finance aspect is going to be strong because the Lord of your house of gains, Mars, will be exalted in your ascendant on your body, meaning gains will be definitely coming your way. You will just naturally attract more wealth in your life. Your money flow will increase. Your financial flow looks to be very strong in the month of March, so make the best use of it. Now let's look at education. So for primary education like bachelor's and high school, it is going to be a good month where the students might do very well in their examinations. But for higher education like master's or PhD, students will need to study really hard to be able to clear any competitive examinations or successfully do any theses or any kind of defense. So for those students, put in a lot of hard work and effort, and then only you will get success. Let's look at health. So in terms of health, you have to be slightly careful in the month of March because the Lord of your house of health is Mercury, and it will transit to 3 different signs in the month of March. So since it is transiting so fast, try to take care of your health and do not neglect any health issues. Try to do yoga, meditation, exercise, eat good healthy food, which will provide you with added benefit. Finally, let's look at married life. In terms of married life, be a bit careful in the month of March because, as I said before, the enemy aspect of Saturn and Venus will fall on your 7th house of marriage. And the debilitated aspect of Mars will also fall on the 7th house. That is why you need to be careful in your married life. Try not to get into arguments with your spouse, or that could lead to issues or possible separation. So as long as you are caring and respectful with your spouse, then it should avoid any major issues. So I wish you all the best. For my Aquarius friends, let's look at career. So the Lord of your career house is Mars, and it will be exalted in the 12th house in the sign of Capricorn, which indicates there is a possible relocation to a foreign country in relation to your job. Also, if you are currently working in a foreign country, then there is a chance of good progress or possible promotion or salary increment in the month of March. If you're applying for jobs, as if you don't currently have one, then you have a higher chance of getting a job in a foreign land as compared to your hometown. Now let's look at love life. Overall, the love life is going to be fine, not too great, not too bad. There is a chance that you might find someone, but you have to carefully analyze everything about that person before jumping into a relationship. Because the Lord of your love and romance house is Mercury, and it will transit to 3 signs very fast. So be a bit careful in that area and not suddenly make any major decisions. In terms of business, it is going to be a fairly good month, especially in the last 2 weeks, because the Lord of your business house is Sun, and in the last 2 weeks, it will be in its friendly sign Pisces, as compared to the first 2 weeks when it will be in the enemy sign Aquarius. So if you have to start a new business, then it will be more favorable towards the end of March. Your business revenue might start increasing, and it will keep going up as the month progresses. So try to have a bit of patience. Now let's look at finance. Financial flow is going to be decent for the month of March. Jupiter is the Lord of both your money houses, and it is going to be in a fairly good position. However, it will get combust due to the presence of Sun, but still it will be able to give some results. So overall, the money and financial flow will be slow and steady, but it will be there. Now let's look at education. In terms of primary education like high school and bachelor's, or even higher education like master's or PhD, students will need to put in a lot of effort to get good grades, to clear any examinations, or to do any thesis or defense. Students will need to study very hard, and then only they will be able to achieve the desired results. Now let's look at health. In terms of health aspect, you have to be careful in the month of March because of the enemy aspect of Saturn and Venus on your 6th house. Also, Mars aspect on your 6th house will be debilitated. So try not to neglect any health issues in the month of March. Try to do yoga, meditation, pranayam, exercise, eat good healthy food. All these things will help you. Finally, for married life, the last 2 weeks of March will be very harmonious and peaceful as compared to the first 2 weeks because of the position of Sun. So try not to get into arguments or disputes in the first 2 weeks, or that could lead to issues. But if you work it out and if you're patient, then you will see a lot of good progress and results in the last 2 weeks of March in regards to your married life. So I wish you all the very best. For my Pisces friends, let's look at career. The Lord of your 10th house of career is Jupiter, and it will be placed in the 12th house. So that indicates you will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort, and then only you will be able to achieve good progress. However, there is a good chance of relocation to a foreign country in terms of your job. For those people unemployed, if you keep applying to jobs, you have a higher chance of getting a job in a foreign country as compared to the current country you are living in. For those people already employed in a foreign land, you might experience good progress on your career front. So keep working hard and stay focused. Let's look at love life. In terms of love life, be a bit careful since the enemy aspect of Saturn and Venus will fall on your 5th house, which will be on the enemy sign Cancer. Also, Mars debilitated aspect will also fall on the 5th house. So March is not the month to suddenly get into a love relationship, or that might not turn out as expected. So try to be a bit patient in the love and romance area in the month of March. And if you are already in a love relationship, then try to avoid getting into arguments with your partner. For business, it is going to be a fairly okay month. Not too great, not too bad. If you keep working hard, stay focused in your business, stay loyal to your business partners, keep doing business in an ethical manner, then I do not see any major issues. But the financial flow in terms of your business revenue will be mediocre at best. Now let's look at the actual financial flow aspect. The overall month for cash and finance is going to be strong because Mars is the lord of your 2nd house of wealth, but it will be placed in the 11th house of gains. So money will definitely be coming your way. However, you have to try to save that money as much as possible so that it can benefit you in the long run. So overall, Mars is definitely going to help you as it will be exalted and very powerful to give you some good gains. Now let's look at education. So in terms of education, it is going to be fairly good for higher education related purposes. For those students pursuing master's or PhD program in a foreign land, because the lord of the 9th house is Mars and will be exalted in the 11th house. So overall, a very strong month for people in foreign land studying higher education. However, those students who are pursuing bachelor's or high school, such as primary education, they will need to put in a lot of hard work and effort to get good grades. Finally, let's look at health. In terms of health, you have to be careful in the first 2 weeks. But in the last 2 weeks, health issues seem to slowly fade away and you might start feeling better. So in the first 2 weeks, try to take care of your health. Try not to neglect any health issues. And the last 2 weeks seem to be very supportive for you in health matters. Finally, we look at married life. So in terms of married life, it is going to be a fairly good month. I do not see any major issues, but since Mercury is the lord of your marriage house and it is going to transit through 3 different signs, so it is going to be very fast in its motion. So try not to get into arguments with your spouse. Try not to make any sudden decisions. Instead, be respectful, caring, and loyal towards your spouse, and that will help to maintain good stability, harmony, and peace in your married life. So I wish you all the very best, and I hope you use this month to your advantage.